Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third FYB Rugby Round Table. My name's Sean Phelan, and welcome. If you have seen us before, then great. If you haven't, then welcome to the discussion. It's going to be a great one tonight, I think, from all the conversations I've just been hearing. It's going to be an exciting and hopefully informative discussion with the panel that we've got. If you want to catch up on the last two, so the last week was about club funding, and the first one was on recruitment and retention of players. You can go to our YouTube channel, and on we've got a podcast now as well. So the first two episodes are on a podcast, and you can get all the information on FYBRugby.com. And you'll see things there. So tonight we're talking about the women's grass game. Bring in our panel. So we have Hez Boldon from Windsor Dames. We have Natalie Eccles from Crusaders RFC, and we have Joe Marley from Winlaton Vixens. How are we, ladies? How are we? All good?
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be on again.
It's going to be fun. Yay!
Yeah. So if you have questions or you have any comments, please put them in the comments thing, and we'll answer as many as we can over the next 45 minutes, and we'll have a great chat. And anything you want to raise, just pop it in there, and we'll have a chat about it. First things first, we'll start with Hez. But how was your season before lockdown started?
Well, interesting season, Sean. We were struggling with numbers. So literally I play for Windsor Dames based in Windsor in Berkshire. So we've done really well from being a development side 9 years ago. I've been with the team for that length of time. And then we've made it up through a couple of divisions and become national champions a couple of times. But last season was a bit of a struggle, I have to say. I think the determination of having a fantastic squad and a coach absolutely helped everybody drive through the season. We had a lot of games cancelled, postponed for various reasons from both sides. We lost a few players the season before, which had an impact on last season. But we kept strong, we kept positive. We fought to the end. The last game that we had was a very good game in the rain, as always. Lovely British weather. And we've put a lot of good positive strategies in, ready for the next season ahead. So fingers crossed it's going to be more successful.
Oh yeah, hope so. Natalie, how were Crusaders getting on this year?
Fantastic. Our women's team is still growing. So we've ended up with 33 active members that are playing. We actually started to get into, because it was only our second season last season, we actually started winning, which is lovely. The last game we had was Sunday before all the rugby stopped, and it was an amazing game against East Suffolk Saxons. So tight. We were able to put in everything we'd put in, all the hard work. And it was just, even though we lost, it was such a great game. So it's exciting to be able to sort of do the rugby again and hopefully soon play some games.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long. At all. And Joe, how did Winlaton Vixens get on this year?
So we had a really good season. It was our first full season as a team. We've only been together about 18 months. So yeah, it was an incredible first season. We were in sort of a development league and we won our league. We had just game to game, could see development each time we played, and kind of the team have just been absolutely phenomenal. Like the commitment and dedication and training to improve just shows from the performance that we had throughout the season. It was just a really good season overall.
That's great to hear, and hopefully it will continue once we can all get back to some sort of rugby, whenever that will be. So if you've seen these before, the discussions aren't very structured, but if you have anything you want to raise, pop it in the comments, and we will have a chat about them. Hopefully we'll we'll have a chat. Although first things first, the growth of the women's game has been sort of well documented over the last few years. Does anyone have any thoughts on why and how? Why this has occurred? Why now and why not a few years ago? There's this big boom women's sport at the moment, but is that purely the factor?
I think it's I think probably the coverage and success of the national women's team has boosted it quite a bit, I'd say. The fact that you can actually watch women's rugby games now on TV, where when I was younger that was never something that was available. I think that's definitely helped. It's probably opened up a lot more people to it that wouldn't necessarily be aware of it, I would say.
Agree, definitely.
I think there's also been...
Sorry, Nat.
That's all right. There's been a lot more investment into the women's team as well. You know, you start a team, you've got all this support behind you now to push you forward. And clubs are all for the women's team as well. And they're making it very friendly for the females to go and play rugby. It's no longer an old boys club. It is one for the whole family. It's one for the whole teams. And that's why you're getting a lot more people. I wish personally that I'd found out about it 10, 20 years ago, about playing rugby as a woman. You know, I only found out about it 3 years ago when I had the opportunity with my son. You know, that he plays for the same club I do. They set up a women's team. That's why I said yes. And that's half the reason why a lot of the women on my team do play rugby. So I think there has been a lot more, there's been a whole change from 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, with the women's game and how well it is projected across the nation.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. And I think having a lot more coverage on social media about ladies' teams has helped. You know, I go to a lot of Premiership games and obviously it's all the men's, but it's nice to see that, for instance, my club is supporting the under-18s, which are known as the girls, the Windsor Damsels, which are the under-18s, the forthcoming to replace us, which are the dames, the plus 18-year-olds. And I just think the success of the Red Roses has really accelerated ladies or girls to get into rugby and get into ladies sport. I'm definitely an advocate of any ladies sport, so it doesn't have to just be rugby. And I think it's our time to shine, and we've had a lot of struggle over the years, but now I think clubs and the RFU, etc., are beginning to realise that actually, you know, we're a powerful side. You know, the ladies are producing some excellent players, and it's a great sport to play. So why not?
Yeah, definitely agree. I think as well there's maybe like a bit of a stigma around women playing rugby. Not stigma might be a bit strong of a word, but there's a lot of stereotyping with women that play rugby, and I think that's probably becoming a little bit less now than what it was, especially like when I was younger. It was very much a stereotype of a woman that played rugby, where now it's just the diversity is just phenomenal. Like it's not a game for just one type of person. There's a place for everybody on the team. You don't have to be super fit, you don't have to be super strong. It's like there's a position for anyone, and I think that's probably one of the really good things about the game and what draws a lot of people in as well.
100%. I totally agree with you at that one. You can be fit, not fit, any shape or size, you know, any culture, any background, anything goes basically with rugby. And that's the good thing about, you know, anybody's accepted, different positions for everybody. And sometimes you may find the position that you started off with may not be what you want to do, and you can move into another one. So it gives you the opportunity to grow. And lastly, a bit from me is that rugby has become like my second family. I moved down to Windsor not knowing anyone about 9 years ago, and then suddenly now, because my family is all over the UK, I've now got this group of girls. Obviously some have gone and we've got new players that have come in, but the coaches and the mentors and the management team and everybody, so the kids, the men's teams, we're all one. We're at Windsor, we always call ourselves one team, because we're not just different teams, we're all one unit. And I think for anybody that wants to make friends, wants to do something that is sporty, keeps them fit, integrate with the community, go for it. Rugby's the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Also, on the back of that, rugby as a woman, you're told to it's almost that stereotype as a woman. You're meant to be nice, you're meant to be calm, you're meant to be lovely. And sometimes you just need to kick the tackle bag and throw it to the floor and scream. And rugby's the only place you can do that. That's what I keep saying to a lot of my colleagues. You know, you're frustrated, you've got kids, you've got your partner, you're cooking, you're cleaning, everything like that. An hour and a half on a rugby pitch, you're so knackered, you actually don't give a damn about anything. You know, somebody can have an awful day the day after rugby training, you don't care. You know, you've had a great night, you're bruised, you're battered, and it's fine.
And you've let off some steam as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's definitely been the best thing we've all done.
Oh, yeah.
How much of the rise do you think is down to something like the Inner Warrior series?
I would say it's definitely helped. I think it's just a bit of publicity. It's just another avenue to get the women's game out there and get people involved. I think, like the kind of grassroots level.
Has your clubs benefited from those? They call them camps. Have they benefited from them?
We actually don't run them at Crusaders as a women's team. We run, so we do an on-rolling sort of an ongoing recruitment thing. So anyone new sort of almost gets looked after by the older, more experienced players. So we sit and talk through it. We had our first ever session 2 years ago, wasn't in the Warriors session. Actually the first two, and they were run by the representative for Norfolk, the community coach. And that was great. But once we've settled as a team, because we're still trying to learn, we're still moving forward, we're still moving up, we've kept it almost like ongoing. Come down any night, come down and try it. You know, there's going to be someone to talk you through it. And our coach is very good. We'll step them out of the more serious stuff and say, look, this is how they're doing it. Watch it, see what you think of it. Do you want to have a go? Obviously, with someone who's going to be safe with you. So we don't actually use Inner Warrior much. So I can't comment whether it's successful. It's great recruitment. I know a lot of clubs that do use it and have a lot of success. But for us, we don't use it as much as we probably should do.
And for us, we've done Inner Warrior camps a couple of years ago now, but we changed the strategy a bit. I think it's a really, really good idea, but I guess it depends on a club fit. Each club is very, very different. So last year I reinvented the wheel and we did some boot camps, some fitness boot camps before pre-season. So it was a good way to get girls that weren't maybe wanting to be in the aggressive tackle mode of rugby. And I've never thrown a ball before. I don't want to get injured because I'm tackling someone. But in the same time, they can do some intensive 30-45 minute fitness with a PT that we've got a range of different PTs per week, personal trainers, and some of the people that we invited, so just did a Facebook event, stayed on. And obviously some people just purely wanted to spend the summer of 6 weeks free of charge. And it was just a good way to integrate them into the community and to publicise Windsor and, you know, give us a good name, really. And people really enjoyed it. So just a fresh idea, really.
So with that then, is there, you all say that you did them a while ago, is there now a thought that it's probably it's run its course and there needs to be some sort of new marketing strategy to bring in a different audience?
I think
and I say this with a marketing head on. I say this with a marketing head on. If you use the same branding and the same messages for years on years, that the audience you're going after becomes saturated, and you need to, as Hez said, reinvent the wheel slightly and come out with something a bit fresher and a bit new.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're using the same imagery, the same, like you say, the same brand and things, it kind of lessens the impact of it, I suppose. So maybe it's like a slightly different turn on it. Maybe it's I don't know what that would be, but just to freshen it up, just to keep it kind of dynamic and keep it something that's kind of always something new. Do you know what I mean? I think that would probably help.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Joe. I think, yeah, it's a great idea from when it first started, but having something a little bit fresher is better. We've had an ex England Rose that has come to one of our training sessions, which suddenly then everybody wanted to come to training when they found out that she was coming to training with us. But it was great for getting the local photographer and our club photographer to take pictures, to promote the training session and get it in the social media and the papers. I think that's a great idea for any club. If you've got any contacts or want to reach out to people, go for it. Yeah,
It's definitely a good idea.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's Inner Warrior does work to an extent. If you're launching, it's fantastic. But I think for a club that's established, you need to look at different ways. As you said, the boot camp's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, if you give the notice in, you plan it way in advance, then you're going to get the attendance. At one point, I remember turning round and there was like 30 girls there, a mix of the dames and then a mix of like new people. And I was like, wow. I literally was like, we were inundated with people just because they wanted to keep fit, maybe learn a little bit about rugby. Yes, it's something that we would have done this year, but obviously with regards to how COVID has been, we've had to park it. But maybe it's something that we can look at doing next year and maybe putting a couple of tweaks on it and improving it.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. Like you say, it gets community involved and maybe opens the door to somebody that wouldn't otherwise have come to the club as well.
Exactly.
Really good shout, yeah.
Yeah.
So Lakenham up here do something similar. Sorry, it sprung to mind. They do a summer of fun. So you go out and do other activities apart from rugby. So you have PT sessions, you do dancing, they do yoga. They go all over Norwich and Norfolk, and they just do a variety of sessions. They sometimes recruit from it. They just have a great time. It's always fun. It's a course sort of fee. So you pay X amount for 6 weeks and they just book in all sorts of things. That's always a great idea, I think, because you do get, from rugby, you get a lot of crossover from things like football. We recruit from football players because they like rolling around on the ground, and women football players tend to be a bit more tough, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they love the transition to rugby because now you can tackle them. Sorry, not hit them. But it's that. But it's you can easily transition people through sports, and it works two ways. We might have people who play rugby that say, actually, we fancy a bit of football as well. So we'll send them that direction. It works. It does work.
Definitely.
Agree.
Yeah. There definitely needs to be something different, something fresh, and hopefully it will bring new people into the game, which is ideally what we need. We need to do that to survive. This might be quite a controversial question, but are there too many women's teams starting up?
So I can see why people will be questioning that, because obviously you're only going to have a player pool of so many people in an area. But the other side of that is, if you can get some teams established, it's going to mean that you can have a more regional approach. You're not going to have to travel as far, which probably wouldn't, like a lot of travel would probably put a lot of people off. So if you can manage it well enough that you've got kind of a good regional spread of teams, it's going to make the game probably a lot more accessible to people that don't want to travel or that can't for varying reasons.
No, I agree with that one, Joe. In Berkshire, we've got a lot of teams, and actually we're quite fortunate that we haven't got too far to travel between each team, but those teams we're all in different leagues. And I remember when I started playing rugby for the first time, I was over in Reading and we were a development team, and then I moved over to Windsor and we were a development team, and my former team is leagues above us now, and we're a couple of leagues below. I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't really matter, as long as I've said to the team, as long as I'm playing rugby and I'm with a good group of friends, as in, teammates, players on the field, coaches, I've got my family with me, I'm happy, because I don't get paid for rugby. I get out of bed on a Sunday morning, whatever state I'm in, go and knock 6 bells out of everyone on a pitch, have some fun in all different kinds of weather, and I'm there. So, yeah.
I mean, if you look at Norwich itself, we've got 5 teams with us. 2 of the teams, you've got UEA and you've got Norwich Medics. they are exclusive teams for the university, and they're for the medical professionals. Then you've got 3 separate teams, all in different leagues, but we're all talking to each other. You know, if someone wants to play more socially, they come over to us. If someone wants something more serious, we move them, you know, which one would be better for you? And I think it does work to an extent. I can see if we had one more, it would become saturated. There'd be a lot of competition for recruitment, and that can be difficult. You know, it's the same question as, is there too many rugby clubs in one area? If you took a 10-mile radius from where I live, you've probably got about 8, 9 different clubs, you know, and you then start looking at it where actually they're all rather successful. And I think the way women's rugby is growing, potentially having the same radius, you could have 8, 9 women's team and start running a really good competition. Mm-hmm. In Norfolk, there's not many women's teams, and they're becoming more and more frequent because there is a want for them. But I think you will get to a point where it is saturated. You will have to look at, you know, what's going to work for each club, and is it worth amalgamating, you know, and having one giant club of, say, Dis and Crusaders, and just having a fantastic team on many levels. Yeah. You know, I think it's, at the time, no, I don't think we're saturated. I think it's great having more teams. I'm all for it, and I'm all for supporting them. But I think at a point we will become saturated if we don't look after it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like too many teams and not enough players kind of
situation.
situation.
Totally agree with you. And girls, a question from my end. Do you just have, like, for instance, the Dames, we've just got a first team. We don't have a second team where maybe they're not as advanced and experienced as us. Is that the same with you guys as well?
Yeah, definitely the same with us. Because we were a relatively new team still, a lot of our team came never having played rugby before, so we do have a lot of inexperience on our team. So yeah, we've only kind of got the one team, but obviously everybody gets game time. Everybody kind of cycles in and out of it, like availability obviously impacts that as well. So while we might have a squad of like 30 players, we might only have sort of 18, 19, 20 available on a game day because of childcare, work, things like that. So yeah, at the moment we don't have enough for a second team, but we can dream.
Yeah, we all can. Definitely.
I mean, and the same situation as Joe. We're probably about 4 months ahead of Joe's team. You know, second full season just done, and we do have a regular squad of about 19. The dream is 2 teams. When you mention it to the coach, you can see his eyes twinkling. It's great. It's like, yeah, 2 teams would be great. And that'll be the ideal thing, because we've got a lot of under 18s coming up who are way more competitive than us, way more faster, way fitter than us. You know, that'll run circles around me and push just as hard. And you think, well, you're wasted in this league. But then the fallback for us is, you know, we might not be good enough for you. Have you thought about going over to Lakenham? And Lakenham will always recommend us, you know, and it is that transference. I think you get a lot of that with women's team anyway. You know, you might have the quiet words, you know, are we competitive enough for you? Do you want more competition, or are you happy? You know, and I think us women, we talk enough that, you know, if you needed to, you could scrounge 2 teams from local teams if you wanted to.
Definitely. And that's a good example of how our last game happened, when I think we were down to, well, we only had 12 or 13 players for a 15s game and no subs. And the opposition we get on with so well. We've played and known them for years. Again, another Berkshire team. Were quite happy to swap some of their players. So some of them wore Dame shirts. We wore some of their shirts. And I tell you what, it was probably, with the camaraderie and the sportswomanship, should I say, was one of the best matches that I've played for a long time, purely because it was just so much fun. Nobody really cared if we won or lost. We still put every ounce of, you know, fitness into it, but it just proved that, I think, with the ladies rugby and ladies sport, we're all close. We all gel together and we all come together when the chips are down. And I think that's very different probably to maybe how the men's teams work. But I've noticed that certainly in the area that I live in, is that when you are needing support, people come together.
Yeah, we've had games the same, where kind of one team or the other's kind of been a sort of player or 2 down. So other players, players from the other team, have just swapped shirts and and jumped on board, you know, and it's great. It is really great because it makes the games happen, and that's what's I suppose that's the important thing, is getting the games happen, because if without games there's no point in having the team.
True.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we often, there's a technician will go around all the sort of the contacts for each team, and it'll be like, anyone fancy a game? You know, we kind of need anyone, and everyone sort of learns multiple positions. I think as a woman you do it more so because you just want to play the sport. You know, as long as I'm not playing a back, I'm fine. You know, it's stick me wherever on the pitch. You know, I'll go and wear someone else's shirt. It doesn't bother me. You know, all you want to do is play the sport, and it's lovely. On the back of this, have any of you trained with other teams? Do you do training sessions or that? To give you a bit of context, we did a training session with Lakenham, which is down the road, and it was, so we learned about the attack, and we learned about they're allowed to play a bias game. So we got to play, you know, a constant attack, just trying all the different strategies you taught, putting it all into practice, trying your position, seeing what works. Then we had a constant defence, and then we played a game. And actually, we took a lot away from that. So I'm wondering if anyone has done anything similar that's worked for them.
So we haven't really had any sort of mixed training sessions, and we've done a couple of kind of RFU events where it's kind of been a bit of a different training session, focused on kind of different skills and things that wouldn't compare to what we'd normally look at. But it is always good getting a perspective of another team, for sure. It's because it can sometimes just shine a light on an area that you maybe need to work on that little bit more yourselves in training and things, same way as a game can. It's a really good idea, definitely.
No, I totally agree with you on that, Nat and Joe. We unfortunately haven't had too many training sessions with other teams. Back in the day, we did do a lot of sessions with the guys. And I think also linked to that, we are now going to be going back to, when things get better, touch wood, to 2 training sessions a week. I don't know what you guys do, but we were only, as of so many seasons, just doing Wednesday night training. But we're now going to be doing Wednesdays when things get better. But as of next week, it's going to be Wednesday. I think it's really important just to get an outsider's view of where you're at. And we've got a new coach joining us this coming season who is part of the men's first team. And he, bless him, comes and watches us most Sundays when we're at home. So he's forever sending me messages going, oh, Hez, you could do this, you could do that. And do you know what? I take it on the back, I take it on the chin. I don't find it a criticism. I find it a positive, because if it's something that I can improve and do better at, happy days, you know, because no one's perfect. We're all learning all the time. And if it's going to help you in the long run to become a better and more skilled player, then go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be honest, after a game, it's the first thing I do when I'm walking home from the club, is I'll just chew my partner's ear off. Like, what went well, what didn't go well, what can I do better? This is honestly, I do eat that in. I have his bat by the time I've got home.
Oh, bless.
So yeah, like you say,
my partner doesn't do rugby at all. So sorry. My partner doesn't do rugby, so it's my child that I constantly, you know, chat about and bounce ideas off. And you know, my partner's like, "Oh my god, just stop."
Love it.
That being said, he's not missed a game yet.
Oh wow!
Love him for it.
How old is he, Nat?
No, partner or child?
The child.
16. Well, 16 in September.
Okay.
So he's at every game, and so is my partner. He watches. They both watch every game, which is great.
You've got your cheerleaders there on the sideline. Fantastic.
Linesman.
Yeah, you can do something useful for 80 minutes.
That's my favourite.
Oh, don't he called me out with my son. It was one of those ones where I looked at him and I was like, "You're so grounded, so grounded."
Brilliant.
I was wrong, but he called me out.
Oh wow.
Is there anything that clubs can do to sort of welcome more women into the game?
I think clubs in general are becoming a lot more as I think, as was saying earlier on, kind of it's less kind of the old boys club. It's generally a lot more inclusive. I think in terms of kind of growing the women's game and kind of bringing more people into clubs, so I think there could be a lot more done in schools. I know when I was at school, I was never allowed to play rugby. It was a boys' game, even though I played it outside of school. And I actually played it outside of school with 2 boys that I was in school with. So that was always a bit weird. But yeah, I think doing more with schools and even like maybe kind of clubs linking in with local schools to try and build up like a young like the under 18 section maybe would probably really help to bring more people to clubs and grow the women's game that little bit more.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Joe. We don't really have a transition here with girls. Obviously, on the under 18 side, they've literally started rugby because maybe their brother plays for one of the teams at Windsor, or they've enjoyed watching England ladies play or some of the Premiership ladies play. The boys probably got it a little bit better because we have a certain school here in Windsor where the boys actually play rugby, and then if they do well, they can come and play for the Windsor boys team. I definitely, they're the next generations of potential ladies rugby players. So I know, for instance, my club, we are heavily promoting getting those under 18 girls playing. And I tell you what, it's lovely to see when you rock up on a Wednesday before our training session that those girls are loving every minute of it. And then I think we're fortunate that we're getting 1 or 2 of those girls moving up into our team this season. So it's good to see the transition, but I still think that education for sports under 18s is definitely needed. I think it's very much not really advertised. It's not done within schools or even colleges. I know universities obviously do the degrees in sports, but I think there needs to be more emphasis on getting those girls transitioned over.
Yeah, for sure.
I think giving the girls the opportunity to play rugby is a great idea. It's something that I'm looking to start with my workplace, is actually a rugby team for the girls, because you get girls that need that outlet. I'm not being funny. And rugby is one of the only true sports. I never did PE in school. I've always been like this big, and it always makes you self-conscious. Rugby is one of those great levelers. You can be, as we've said, any size, any shape, any fitness, any strength. You walk on a rugby pitch, you're part of a team. Yeah. And I think it's a great confidence boost. We're lucky our club has a very strong girls section. But between the under 13s and what will be the under 15s, we've got 30 girls. We've just transitioned. In November, we'll transition our last under 18 into our team. And it's fantastic. We've still got girls coming through the minis section upwards as well, and taking up more of the sport. Is becoming more prevalent across our club. And our club's been, back to the original question, fantastic and supportive. The only things that clubs can do is actually, if you're going to tie into a contract with kit, look at the sizes of your kits. A lot of kit producers don't actually cater for women of a larger size, of a larger bust. You may have a huge bust and you'll need a shirt size up, but they don't do it because it only goes up to a size 14 or 16. Not everyone's that size when they play rugby. You need sometimes a larger shirt. If the women choose to wear more supportive gear across the shoulders, they're going to need a shirt size up. So you've got to, if a club's going to have a women's team, they've got to look at it more as everything that you have there. The women at our club, we've taken on the girls' loo. We've got plans for, sanitary products to be available for the girls. The open conversation that, if you need something, come find the women's team. We're always going to have the stuff. And I think club supporting that is fantastic. Our chairman, he messages me, if I come up with a crazy idea, it's how can I help you? What do you need help with? And he's great. It's very supportive. And the committee are fully behind the women's team. The only thing, when you do get a new women's team, and I don't know if you had the same problem, Joe, the first social, the first 5 minutes was like the school disco. Boys one side, girls the other. And then it was like,
we still get that now.
How do you do this?
Boys in one area, girls in the other. It's like you don't want to speak to each other. I know it's social distancing right now, but seriously.
I think we were quite lucky in that.
But then you get like the 3 or 4.
What were we going to say? Sorry, go ahead. Natalie.
Sorry, Joe.
No, you go.
We get 3 or 4. I'm one of the social people. I'll go chat to anyone.
Yeah.
And it's you get that crossover sort of, I know him, I'm going to go to him, you know.
Bite the bullets, just go for it. Yeah. Life's too short.
I think on that point, I think we were quite lucky that one of our first sort of club socials with our team was the presentation evening. So it was kind of a situation where everyone kind of had to like interact and stuff. But I think generally speaking, like our club's been pretty, like my club's been pretty welcoming to have the women's team pretty supportive and kind of it's just gone from strength to strength. And obviously we wouldn't have been able to do that without kind of the support of the club, you know. So yeah, it's been good.
Definitely agree. And I think socials on that aspect are a massive part of the club. I think it's great. You know, we're trying to get one organised soon, pending everything, with our ladies team, just to get some of the newbies that we've recruited on board so that they're feeling part of a team. And also we want to feel part of a team. We haven't seen each other for like 4 or 5 months. So I think it's all about having that connection and that human interaction. And also eventually when things get better, we're going to do a big, you know, gathering at the club or wherever with all the men's teams as well, or, you know, maybe the little boys teams, just so that everybody can unite and be back together again. Because I think it's fundamental that as part of, you know, you're playing a serious sport, you've also got to have a bit of a laugh and let your hair down and get to meet people on a sociable aspect as well. And I guess that's my club is quite good for doing social stuff. I just think there's always, you know, it'd be nice to have a little bit more of it sometimes, but pending what's going on with the world at the moment. Yeah.
You brought up you up a good point there, you know, about people new joining you without having done anything. Have you had any indication from players that may not come back post-COVID?
Yeah, no,
because of what's gone on.
Nothing to do with COVID, but I think we've definitely changed our strategy as a team from what happened. We've had lessons learnt, and there's a collective few of us, not the whole team. Every Wednesday we've been doing a Zoom chat every single week to talk about the strategy of the team, the ladies team, and what we can do going forwards. And that's a mix of things like social media, recruitment. We've been training. We've been doing Zoom training with some ex-England ladies or current England ladies to promote our social media, which has really worked because people are coming to us going, you know, we didn't know about you, but we do now. And you know, we've been doing sponsorship challenges and stuff like that. But I just think that the players that we've lost, you know, they're individuals, they're adults, they've gone for their own accord, their own reason, whether it's another team or job or money or whatever. And it's not the end of the world. We know that we had a bit of a lapse last season, but I think this season going forwards with putting some strategies into place with ourselves and the coaches, we're determined more than ever to increase those potential numbers and not have to worry that, you know, we've only got 15 for a game and no subs, or a lot of the games last season we would literally have 13 to 14 players. We had a lot of injuries last season, including myself, for the first time ever. You've got to take the negatives and turn them around into a positive. So that's what we're doing going forwards.
Yeah, definitely. I think
I know a great website if you've got 13 or 14 players.
Touch wood, we won't go going forward now.
I think we've been quite lucky.
Joe.
We haven't. It's all right. We've been quite lucky because I don't know that we've lost anyone really from like sort of pre-season. I think everyone's been really keen to get back into it, really keen to get back on the pitch and playing the game again, which is great. It's kind of one less thing off the list of things to sort out, I suppose, when we come back, you know. But obviously, like I said, we're kind of constantly doing things on Facebook, trying to get the word out around the team, stuff like that, just to try and grow the numbers and bring more people in where we can. So yeah, been quite lucky.
I think for us, we have you do have a natural turnover. People do. Sorry.
No, go on, Natalie.
People do. Sorry. People do move away, and life does change. You know, things come up that you don't expect. But we always make it clear that if you leave us, the door is always welcome. Come back. You know, we're going to make sure the bar's open. You know, if you come back, it's going to be a good celebration. And we're always keeping in touch. I think all you can do if you I think it is going to delay some of the people coming back. I think people are very wary, and there are jobs that have changed. You know, you've changed your shift, especially if you're in a nursing sector. You're doing different shifts. You're taking on extra work. So I don't think clubs are going to lose as much. I think they're going to gain more. We've certainly had quite a few inquiries because people have been doing fitness and then actually looking into it. I want to give rugby a go. So we've had a few emails inquiring about that, you know, and I think it's split almost between what you will lose. I think you will also gain as well, especially as everyone seems to be very fitness conscious at the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Agree with you there, Nat. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully the game will be, everyone will be itching to get back and playing and socialising very soon. Yeah, won't be long. When do you think we'll be starting playing?
It's the $1 million question.
I mean, I know.
I'd like
January
week. I don't know. I think every club is taking its precaution, and hats off to them, because we're all following the stringent guidelines of what's going on at the moment. And as much as, like I've just said, I would love to be playing ASAP. I'm itching to get back in those boots and get back to playing a proper 80-minute game with tackling and everything else. I can't see it going to be happening this year. I've got a couple of friends that work in the hospitals and nurses, etc. They're potentially saying next year for a start for rugby. Again, it's very like this whole COVID thing. It's very unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next, 1 week to the next. I think as long as teams, clubs, players, supporters are all in the same boat and know what's expected of them and stick within the guidelines, I think we just kind of have to go with the flow and just know that it's not going to be a normal season. Hence, pre-season would be halfway through it now.
Yeah.
Sevens, I play sevens as well for another team. We'd be playing lots of sevens matches now, but we're not. So I think we just got to try and keep going, go with the flow, go with what our coaches say and what the RFU say, because they're the ones that we've got to adhere to, and the government as well. And hope for the best, fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably looking at next year, early next year. I'd say if I get games back on, just even just to like erring on the side of caution more than anything else, just to make sure that there's nothing's gonna start a season and have to stop it again.
Agree, Joe. Yeah.
And I think all we can do when it comes to the beginning of the season is look at, squeeze as many games as we can, which will be the idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I was saying, yeah. We're planning a lot of three-way games, so that we found that it worked for us. 2 teams we invite up and we just cater for the whole day, and it's great. It's good fun. 3 games, 2 games you play and 1 you watch. It's a fantastic way to tick people off your list for playing.
Definitely. Good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
That's a really good idea, yeah.
We've had our first question in right at the end. We've had our first question in. So if you're happy to stay for another 5 minutes, we'll get it.
Yeah, no problem.
This is from Aidan. What is the best advice you would give to other women's teams just starting up? What have your teams learned that you wish you knew at the start to help them build? That's a great question.
Very good question, Aidan. Let me just think. I think the best advice for starting teams up, I think it's all about, everybody is going to be at different levels. So, you're just starting a women's team up. I mean, we started as a development team where we had a mix of some people that have played rugby before, some people that haven't. I think if you've got some good coaches and you've got a good rugby environment to be in, it's all about, again, we're going to touch upon it, the recruitment thing. You've got to get a certain number of girls involved in the club. And then what has your team learned that you wish that you knew at start? I think it's just about, for my team, it's all about like retention. It's all about, You want to try and keep your players for as long as possible. I'm one that has stayed and never has gone. I was going to retire at the end of last season, and then with COVID happening, I kind of took a positive turn and said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking with the team. So, yeah, that's it from my side.
I think in terms of, like you say, when we started, we had, I think there was 7 people started on our first training session, and I was the only one that had ever played rugby before. And I think the basics are never something to move away from. So we've kind of had a fairly consistent stream of new people that have never played joining at regular intervals. So we've kind of found ourselves having to go back and explain the rules and go over the basics and revisit them quite regularly. And I think I would imagine, especially if you've got more experience, it's quite easy to get quite frustrated by that. So I think patience is probably a really good thing to have, especially when you've just started a new team and if you're that bit more experienced. But I think for a new team, any players joining a new team that are that little bit less experienced, use the players that have the knowledge to gain and learn from, because I think that's definitely kind of helped having someone that, like, when my coach went and did his own training, because like our coach played for the first team as well, so when he went and did his first training in those first few sessions, I kind of stayed back and went through handling drills and stuff with the girls, just to kind of, for the people that wanted to stay back and do them, it was like a bit of knowledge there that they could kind of draw on. So I think, yeah, kind of having patience, but also using your resources, I think is really good for kind of building and growing a team, for sure.
Great.
We were quite lucky at Cruise. We recruited through things like our rugby fit through the summer. We had fan rugby, and because we've got such a large youth section, a lot of the recruitment came through mums and through friends. The greatest piece of advice I can give: make sure your social media is really strong. And listen to the women's team. It's very important, because we're going to tell you how fast we want to progress. A lot of teams will take 6 months to get to tackling. We took 6 weeks because it got to the 5th week. The coach looked at us and he was a great fit. And he says, what the hell do you want to do? And it's like, tackling. We don't care about anything else. We want to tackle. Now we've skirted around it. Let's get it done. And people were really eager for it. We all bought gum shields the 2nd week. You know, we're out buying boots because we wanted to do it. So I think the most important lesson is listen to your women and allow them have some kind of say in how the team is run. Don't dictate to them how it's going to work, because it won't work at all. You know, the greatest way, strong social media, and listen to the team, most importantly.
Definitely. I think social media is like so important, because that's like where most people get their information from these days. Like, everyone's on social media of one form or another, and there's so many different platforms. I think it's kind of silly to not utilize those platforms where you can, especially when you're trying to start a new team. It's so important to get the message spread as kind of as far and as fast as you can to get the buy-in, because if you don't have the players, you don't have a team at the end of the day.
Agree. Yeah, definitely.
And try and be a bit different. Try and do things slightly differently than you've seen with other clubs, because that's what will make everybody unique. Is just be slightly different, whether that is your social media approach or your general club approach. Just be different, and people are attracted to different things. So be different, and you might find that is you might find the right audience for what you're looking for. Exactly. And Facebook ads. Use Facebook ads. Spend some money. Spend some money on Facebook ads. Go and get someone that can actually put a targeted ad in the right areas, to the right people, and you should be fine. You'll find more people than possibly that you would have done just by posting on social media. That's for sure. That's my 2 cents anyway. Okay, we thanks for that, Aidan. We're gonna wrap it up there. It's been a discussion. I've really enjoyed listening. And you guys have been great. And this has been really good. So Hez, Joe, and Natalie, thank you very much. Enjoy pre-season whenever that kicks in for you. And next week we're gonna sort of visit the return to rugby, sort of the first couple of weeks in. So if you want to have a chat about how the first couple of weeks have gone, how COVID has gone in your club, then get in touch with me. You can watch this again on Facebook. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube in about an hour or so, and it'll be a podcast when you wake up in the morning. So please, continue to get involved. Continue to tell everyone about these sessions, and we'll keep these discussions going for as long as we need to. But so thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.